Have one vacancy. Other than that, we have everyone here with a quorum. Then I call this meeting as the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would join me. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. Citizen comment period. Are there anyone signed up to speak? Nope. All right, we'll consider A, approval. We're looking for approval of the minutes from the November 21st Water Commission regular meeting. So first, I'll ask if anyone has any corrections or comments, starting on the left. Right side? No. All right, can I second? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the proposed. Minutes are approved unanimously. Mr. Steinmetz, over to you.
Good evening, Commissioners. For December 2023, the Utility Department completed acre feet for the year. With the Edwards water restrictions, the city lost 233.99 acre feet for the year. Since the city does withdraw from the Edwards, we lose a portion of our yearly permitted acre feet during the Edwards stages. The Edwards was in Stage 2 for 44 days, Stage 3 for 218 days, and Stage 4 for 103 days. We withdrew 5.25 acre feet from the Trinity in December with a year total of 641.87 acre feet. Combined Edwards and Trinity acre feet is 1,038.6 acre feet. All required distribution samples passed for the month. Water loss went up to 12%. Stage 3 stage restriction alerts for December were 426, up 35 from November. Water line location project is still moving along. The contractor completed 3 tie-ins at 2252 and Tonkawa Pass, and is currently working on Bat Cave at 2252, preparing for 2 tie-ins and extending the water main casing that runs under 2252.
Questions for our Mr. Steinmetz? No questions. Well, you must have done an outstanding job, Mr. Steinmetz. No questions at all. I have none either. Thank you very much. We'll move. So on the most important thing out of the December meeting is the council has approved our new commissioner, Mr. Stedman. So I know you guys ought to introduce him to me, so you've all met, but thank you very much, and we certainly appreciate it for water break comments and department, and the mayor made a comment about good job working the sources, and as we've heard tonight, working the Edwards Aquifer moving target down as close as we could get it. So awesome on that. The city engineer did go over the lots of rock and stuff to deal with in the last meeting where Mets is aware of it and is working. So that's all I had on the December meeting. The January meeting was, I'm told, a record short almost. So there's nothing significant to report relevant to the Water Commission. So, Ms. Kane, anything I missed?
No, I think you covered it.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Item 3, AMI portal usage and outreach efforts. That was a member on the agenda, and the staff has been working on it. Ms. Kane, do you want to give any updates?
Staff will continue working on this. With the holidays and shortage of staff in the admin department, it's added a little delay, but we will be working on that item. And we will update you when we have more information to present.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, that concludes item 4B. So we'll go into item 4C, recommendations. First item there we have is a request for water loss adjustment for 90. We're to review and make recommendations regarding that request. So we'll start with Mr. Steinmetz.
Yes. I'll just read from my summary. The water meter data for 9610 Meadow Rue shows that a large leak started on 10/2/23 at 9 a.m. and continued until it stopped at 10 p.m. that same day. Pictures entered by the city's AMI system to look how the customer had their notifications set up, And he said that the customer has it on default notification settings listed, which means that he would get notified for a leak 24 hours after it started, and the continuous flow option was not activated. For the customer to get notifications, they need to customize their settings from their computer. I'm going to recommend that the Water Commission have a credit of $449.50 be given for this request. I mean, it was pretty cut and dry on the spreadsheet, so that's one of the easier ones to go over.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, Tom and Pat Klimas, we live in this. The homeowner there came up to the neighbor next to us and said, "Do you guys have a leak?" I said, "No." So they came over to our house, and then sure enough, there was. It wasn't this, it was along the surface in an area where we normally don't go there to cut the lawn and walk around the house. And so we didn't catch it until that evening, and it was a significant leak. We had it fixed. Michelle has the pipe, I brought it up here, that broke, and we do have the AMI, but I'm not sure, I'd have to check with my wife about the continuous water flow. I thought she had.
On the right?
Settings with the customer. Like I said, it looks like the system put this stuff out. Again, to me, it just means we need to push our efforts in whatever manner is appropriate to help our residents navigate the portal so the settings are the most effective. That's my only comment.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, do we have a motion or a recommendation for this leak adjustment request?
I recommend that we approve the adjustment.
I second it.
It's been moved that we approve an adjustment. I'm going to fill in words for you, and you tell me if you don't agree, that we approve a credit in the amount of $449.50. Lost my page. For the customer at 9610 Meadow Rue for the billing period as indicated. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the leak, or, excuse me. All right. You're done without the council. Thank you very much.
Not have to go toward two councils, what I'm trying to say.
Commissioner Poole, would you like to amend that motion? 2023 to August 23rd, 2023. Review and make recommendations on the request. Mr. Steinmetz, over to you.
Yes. The water meter data for 20950 Klein Circle shows that a continuous leak started on July 7, 23 and continued until July 26, when it was repaired by O'Haver Plumbing. I talked to the homeowner and found out the leak was caused by a mainline pipe going to their house, and that the homeowner also indicated they did not receive any text message about the leak like they did back in February 21. I asked them to check and see how they have their notifications set up on their meter app. From the start of the billing period to the end of the leak on July 26, 91,752 gallons water registered through their meter. July 7th, the leak started. July 21st, app shows notification answering machine. July 24th, estimate by first plumber. July 25th, repair started by O'Haver Plumbing. July 26th, leak finally repaired. Since the repairs were completed in somewhat a timely manner upon detection of the leak and the difficulty of the excavation due to the rocks, I'm going to recommend that the leak adjustment for 20950 Klein be approved with a credit of $1,244.20.
All right, thank you. This one's a little more complex, so we'll start with questions from Mr. Steinmetz before we ask if the customer wants to speak. So I'll start on the right. Any questions from Mr. Steinmetz?
The leak started July 7th. The system first indicated a message going out on the 21st. Any indication of why one didn't go out earlier than that?
I don't have any explanation for that.
Okay. The resident indicated that they didn't get a text message and got it in some prior occasions. Did you ever get a response back as to what the missing link there was?
No, sir, I didn't.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, over to the left side, Commissioner Stone. Dr. Carmichael?
Comments of Commissioner Paul, I'm just concerned about the length of time it took to find and repair the leak.
All right, thank you. Is the customer present? Do they wish to speak? Sarah, would you approach?
Client Circle with my wife Karen, and we had noticed it had rained, I guess, the day or two before. We had saw some water out front. We don't usually go out the front of the house, we go out the garage. And apparently the lock, we thought it was a slab leak. So we went out there and looked and it was bubbling, so of course we called the plumber. And the first guy comes out and he says, well, that's too much digging for me because there's roots and rocks. And he says, I'll have to call a crew to come in, he says. So we called another plumber that I've used before, and so they came out the next day, and it took them, I guess the leak was on Saturday, so we didn't get somebody out there till Tuesday to start digging, and it took all day, and he fixed it. I think it was Tuesday night, but we were just looking at, what we really were requesting is not so much as the gallons as so we're still responsible for the gallons, I understand that, but at the lower tier instead of, of course, 90,000 gallons puts you at the top tier. So that's what we would request.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I don't know if you're aware the ordinance was changed to where the tier that, I mean, it is a significant reduction, but it's not tier 1, it's tier 2. And that's based on the actual costs to the city. So it's slightly different than what you may have heard in the past, but.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was different tiers, like the more you use to deter. And we're usually pretty good. We have it set on Mondays, that's our day to water Monday mornings and Monday evenings. So we're trying to be in compliance. It's just that this was one of those bad luck things that, hits.
Yeah. You're good. I just wanted to let you know that the terminology, what you'll hear us talking about is tier 2 rates. That is the lowest rate at which the leak adjustments are made. So
understand.
we were ignoring your request, but
No, not at all.
yeah, okay. Any questions for the homeowner? Start on the left. On the right?
Yes, sir, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for your time. Sorry.
You're familiar with the portal settings. Have you had a chance to review those? Because we want to make sure that
I guess it was 2020 when we all had fun with the cold weather. We had a break in the back, and it was telling me that we had so much of each hour. And so, of course, we went around and looked at all the hose bibs. We found the one, so it was great then, but I might have changed something since then, I don't know. But since then, we have adjusted to make sure that we are on them. Because I go out to that getmeterinfo, I think, .com and check usage, et cetera, so it's pretty helpful.
great, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioners, over to you. Commissioner Stone, anything you'd like to contribute?
Is there, this be the second time where it seems like we're having issues as far as notification? Is there something that the city can do as far as maybe test the notification across the board to everybody so we this doesn't have a recurring theme?
I think there's some technical stuff that's come up before on that, but does any of the staff wish to comment?
As far as the notifications, the only real way we could actually be sure that they get notified is if we went over a list of everybody that got notified for something and recalled and did a physical call ourselves or have somebody go up there, knock on the door and hang a door hanger. And we've even gone to the point of actually taking pictures of the door thing being on the door hanger, just so it'd be 100% understood that notification was granted, but that takes a lot of manpower.
Okay, any other staff comments?
As far as like the AMI notification setups, that's what Commissioner Pohl has been adamant about, you know, us reinforcing or having an outreach of just education. We do that quite often, but it is up to the homeowner to make sure that they are set up properly. And if they have left out any information, whether it's a phone number or an email address on the portal site, it will not notify them. They certainly can call us, you know, for assistance, and we can guide them through it to make sure that they have everything updated properly. But you know, it is something that we don't have access to, their personal data.
But my understanding with the portal, there's the portal itself, the web-based part, and then there's the app. Is there any difference between the
On your phones is just, you know, another application or another method of accessing that same
portable, or is the city determine the thresholds? For instance, the continuous flow or the leak, at what point do those get triggered?
So the leak will automatically trigger if water has been continuously flowing for 24 hours. So it will send them a leak notification. If the customer sets up a continuous flow, say, you know, 1 gallon per hour for the next 5 hours or something, instead of a 24-hour time frame. So they can actually customize that to be a shorter notification period. Or sooner or more constant than the leak notification. Because if it is defaulted to just the leak notification, it only notifies them every 30 days.
You're kind of out of luck with that. So I know, but also about internal processes that maybe can find the worst cases. We're not going to ask staff to go looking for every continuous flow indication that you get, but there might be some threshold at which an alert is triggered to staff where, okay, this one, but I just asked that it.
The leak started on the 19th at 1800. The 21st at 8 a.m. So that's pretty close to that 24-hour period.
All right, thank you. All right, commissioners, any, yes, sir.
Yeah, so, but on the notifications, you can get phone, text, email, all the above, as I understand it.
Yes, as long as there is a phone number and an email when they log in and create their portal access, it will do whatever it asks them, I mean, whatever they've asked of it, because there's radio buttons that say, telephone me, text me, or email me.
Yeah, it's really not significant yet. I mean, is it 50% or less of the people who even signed up, more or less have customized notifications? So, and I have no answer for that either. Push, see what we can get done.
Okay, I appreciate all that, and we will hopefully address that in the future, but we'll start rounding this back up and keep it to this particular case at the moment. So any other questions or comments for staff or the homeowner relevant to this particular case? None appearing.
Forward to the council, the recommendation that the requested adjustment as specified, you can fill in the words.
So again, paraphrasing, tell me if I get it wrong. You would like to make a motion to recommend to City Council the approval of a leak adjustment credit in the amount of $1,244.20 for the customer at 2950 Klein Circle. Is that correct?
That is correct, thank you.
Is there any second?
Second?
Discussion on the right? Left? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the leakage estimate. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the recommendation is adopted unanimously. Thank you. All right, that brings us to item C3, which is a request for appeal on a water loss adjustment denial for 9497 Syncona Trail for the billing period of November 21st, 2022 to December 22nd, 2022. And to review and make a recommendation regarding the request. Mr. Steinmetz, can you go over the history here for us?
Yes, their leak started on, let's see, right here. Prior to the significant water registering through their meter, they really didn't have much usage at all, except for on 11/21 and all the way to, I think it was 28. 11/28 is averaging about holiday. But the main thing is, they say there's no indication of a leak. They can't provide any type of repair invoice because they couldn't find any type of leak on their property at all. I did send some questions asking about if, while they were gone, did they have somebody looking after their home? They said yes, and they did have a leak at a cabana, but they don't think that it was up to 93,000 gallons. So this one, there's a couple times that we tried notifying them, and they, to get more questions, and a long time passed before they would respond. So, yeah, this one's a tough one. Since there's no indication of a leak, no repair.
In going through the packet, I don't know, maybe, Stephen, you could address, there is an email that was sent on October 17th.
Correct.
And I'm not sure I understand this particular email trail, but that's where they were talking about that leak. But this is significantly after it occurred, is that correct?
Correct.
So the actual leak in question was in the fall of 2022?
Yes. When did he put his request in for?
Sent it in a second time. The first one, I don't recall exactly what the date is. It should be on the original copy.
So, Michelle, I don't know if you can find it in the packet, but I'm of 23, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. February 3rd of '23 was the first one, and then March, he submitted a duplicate of, March 14th was the duplicate submission with just basically different words for consideration.
Okay, you would agree then as the utility clerk that the submission at least was timely, the first submission relative to the bill?
That is correct.
All right, Mr. Steinmetz, when was the next time that you had interaction with the customer, the next input that filed in March of 2023, and you,
October. Have it in here. It was October I got that email, right, Michelle? Okay.
was there a request from the staff, and then when that information was submitted?
I don't have that. Thought I had it, but I don't.
This did with this one. There is, let's see. he provided some dates there as to when he made a phone call to try and speak to the customer. Let me find that.
You know, I see that. It was April of 2023. And then his summary does indicate several other attempts to call, but they're not all dated, so I wasn't sure how much time went between there. But it says, it leaves at the bottom of it that, 45 days from the time of that contact would be June 10th, which I'm not sure where the 45 days came from. But at what point, I'm trying to look at again, and I apologize, I'm just trying to put all this stuff together, but then there was a delay. So at what point did you get the next set of information?
I don't think I ever got off of the report Jack filed, I don't think we ever got any off of that.
In the record was your denial, I guess, to put it, I don't know if that's the right word or not, but that's dated September of '23. Is that correct? Did it go from April to September?
Yes. Can't find this thing.
Michelle, can you?
So it had to have occurred, I believe he still had a dispute denial. So I don't recall exactly what date that was.
Okay, well, that makes sense for the timeline.
Similar, but they're different. And one is check yes. And this, for all of us, from a practical standpoint, has the hallmarks of the water being left on at the cabana. And how it got turned on, it was turned on at 11 at night. That's consistent with something happening, a prank or whatever. So that's a little bit unease as to what actually happened there, whether somebody found the water was on for a period of time due to some activity. The other is, I've always been surprised at how much comes out of a small pipe. 600 gallons an hour sounds like a lot of water, but when you lay out even a sprinkler in your yard for an hour, it'll put down 300 gallons. And I've measured this trying to get my lawn to grow. So I don't think it's beyond the pale that a faucet left open for an hour could put out 600 gallons, and being open is extremely consistent. It's almost exactly 590 gallons an hour, which is not so much a leak as something being left open. So those are just mainly observations to maybe understand better what happened. So not directly a question, just some observations based on the information.
It just suddenly stopped. Again, it would fall back into an open faucet, oops.
Yeah, the ordinance does say there has to be supported by someone doing a leak inspection. That didn't necessarily result in an adjustment, but there's always been a requirement for, I shouldn't say always, almost always a requirement for some form of evidence, or at least a documentary statement that supported it. So I don't see that here. But you're correct, there is a requirement for some form of documentation of a repair. Dr. Carmichael, anything?
I think that's another little far out, but the applicant did, the homeowner did question the meter itself as being defective.
Like an accuracy test?
Yes, sir.
No, we didn't do that. I mean, after the leak stopped, I mean, everything went back to normal usage. There was no real,
Gallons had been released from the cabana onto the ground. I would expect to find some evidence of that if you walk the grounds.
Responding to that, my understanding is that the homeowner, the property was vacant, the homeowner was out of town until the 28th. This was over a holiday time. So whoever saw it may have just turned it off and walked away, and that amount of water surprisingly can disappear in our soil too, but it is concerning that there isn't any, without seeing the scene, so to speak, you don't really know if it was a drainage channel or went under the cabana or whatever, but, to me, it all adds up to something was opened, it was called saying, yeah, somebody pulled a prank and turned my water on and I lost 100,000 gallons.
The point on water loss adjustments that kind of caught my eye on this case was in the subsection 6 little IV, where it speaks to all information for a thorough investigation is submitted to the Utilities Department in a timely manner. And I think there were some issues trying to get.
Any other comments or questions at this point? All right. Michelle, is the homeowner present? Have they indicated availability to call in?
They did not respond to my email.
Staff have any information as to what efforts other than phone calls were made to try to educate the customer on how to work the process? Seems like there was a long gap between the investigation and re-attack between April and September. So I'm just wondering if there's some explanation for that length of time going by. So was the bill paid?
He has been slowly paying it, but it's not completely paid, no.
So how to proceed on this one. Do you have the ordinance text available that we can bring up? Cycle, which was done, and then they have 90 days to provide supporting documentation. The initial supporting documentation was provided. But then as far as doing the investigation, as Commissioner Snedden pointed out, there has to be complete information to water loss adjustments beyond 6 months are normally not considered unless there's some part on some responsibility from the city. To qualify, I don't know if you scroll down to where it talks about qualifying leaks. So loss adjustment is only considered if the usage is more than 40,000, that's true, and then water loss is repaired or corrected. Water shut off if reasonably possible, and then, as mentioned, all information provided. No adjustment will be made if reasonable indications of a leak existed, the customer was notified, and the customer did not shut off the water or repair leak in a timely manner. Water loss resulted from violation of the ordinance. Reasonable indications show the leak continues to exist. Excessive use as a result of programming errors are not considered a leak, and water loss associated with the construction of residences would not be covered. If water loss the amount of the loss cannot be determined, any loss adjustment should be based on the average of the same month over the last 3 years or highest consumption over the last 12 months. There's a section in there on timeliness for additional information. I don't know if you can find that one. So Commissioners, I mean, you can read the paragraph there, but essentially, the denial, if we were going to claim that there's not, we can't establish a qualifying water loss, should have been done within a reasonable time period after the 45 days, which would have been in June. So we're talking June to September, so there's some delay in getting back to the customer. So I don't know if we would hold that against them per se, as far as time. But to me, I mean, where I keep coming back is we basically just have a dispute. I didn't use the water. I mean, with the only investigation being done was on the part of the city staff, it seems, other than just saying we didn't use the water, which may be true. I mean, we have no way to know that, but in terms of the requirement for due diligence and evidence on the part of the water loss adjustment, I'm not sure that, in my opinion, that all the criteria are there. That wouldn't necessarily prevent the customer from addressing it again with additional information if there is any, but based on what we have, I'd just like you to consider what the ordinance says and the material that you have in front of you and kind of make a judgment on any additional questions that we need or what you would like to recommend to City Council, which could be no recommendation, could be recommend denial, I guess, of the appeal, or if you think some relief is warranted, we could recommend that as well. Could also just table it and ask for more information specifically. So if you have any questions as you look at the ordinance or anything else that you want to address with staff, now's the time. So I'll give you just a moment to look at it, and then I'll ask you for your input.
In going through the ordinance, and it's my question, I didn't see anything about where a water loss might be as a result of a criminal activity. And maybe I've missed it, or maybe it's not spoken to, so I don't know if there's ever been a precedence where literally there's been vandalism and somebody's faucets were opened up and a lot of water was lost, that would form any basis for acting independent of what the ordinance says. So that's really a question to the.
Water backflow system was run, but that would be a criminal activity. I don't know, some kids leaving the faucet on or, and addressing that. I've left my faucet running overnight outside by accident and discovered it the next morning and turned it off and got quiet about it.
So I think they've brought up the section that you're referring to now. If you want to review it, there is some guidance.
I guess my position would be based on that. And I appreciate it. Thank you. That's one, I just glossed over it and missed the one word. This being a possibility, particularly given that the application said no in one case and yes in the other, giving the customer the benefit of the doubt, I think perhaps to table this with a period of time given to the customer for one final opportunity to respond, perhaps with the idea that the water had been off. I mean, I continue to kind of land on that. I would be willing to allow a period of time for the customer to respond to that, given that.
So, I mean, it has happened, and the idea was to file the police report to document it and then covered. So it wasn't just if you had criminal activity, the city covered it, but it was to have documentation and ability to investigate it. And given that this much time has passed, I'm not even sure that would help in this case. It's just, I mean, it's over a year and a half old and going to be pretty hard to do.
With the little caveat, the criminal activity, there's a glimmer of hope as far as work for the customers. I still go back to the fact is that there was no leak, so it had been something had to change. It suddenly turned the water off. If there's no, they couldn't document any leak adjustment. So, is there anything more information? They've given information. They've given and asked them to get a little more timelier. Is it something that you could ask for them that might answer some more questions? I don't know. I'm saying anything.
Sure, we could go back to him, and ask, but
Well, they
Stevens-
commented on one of the applications, criminal activity, and then the other. So they might have had either they might have had some suspicions or some suspect something on there. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm just kind of reaching for there.
well, Stephen's last email to him was March 21st, 23. And Stephen is asking questions, but Stephen did not receive a response back from him until October 17th of 2023.
Basically, over the 45 days of responding then.
And, that's over that 45-day period. As I've listened to the discussion here tonight, that's the one thing I keep going back to.
I really do appreciate, on behalf of the city and the staff, giving the customer the benefit of the doubt. But we've done that before, requested. And it's not that it's not in time with our ordinance, although that's what we go by. It's that it's been a really long time, and we've reached out to them, and they haven't gotten back to us. So if it
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sir?
The point I keep coming back to is what Ms. Kane mentioned was even address the questions that were in the March for the customer.
Thank you. I'll remember that we have to go by the information that we're provided, and nothing that we do for forever. It was continuous before, and there were zeros after. Can't speculate, really. It's just speculation on documentation of a leak or any repair that under the ordinance would be responded to in a timely manner. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter. Requirements in the ordinance now, and I would just ask you to look at the ordinance, look at the evidence, consider timeliness, and keep in mind that the customer still could provide that if there is any. But this particular amount is way out. Commissioner Poole pointed out it's consistent with either somebody turned a faucet on or left it on, or they did. We don't know, and we can't speculate. We can only go by the evidence that we have here presented. So with that, looking for.
I think it's a matter of timeliness, and I would evidence or lack of, not so much evidence, but facts.
9497 Syncona Trail. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor, and I note that voting in favor means a vote to recommend denial of the appeal. All right, back to the, choose their own chair and vice chair. It doesn't require city council action. So with that, I spoke with Chairman Mueller, and he is willing to continue as chair if you gentlemen wish him to. So any discussion?
I think
Consider
fully
revenge.
supported.
Because I was appointed as one of these positions when I wasn't here, so it's just fair. It's just fair. Well, then I do need a motion to name Chairman Mueller as chair for an additional term.
I so move.
Any second?
Second.
Chair, and I would like to point out that while I have been very honored to do this, I'm on like 8.5 years on the commission right now, so would appreciate getting someone as vice that would be willing to learn the ropes and be prepared to relieve him someday. So are any of you interested in the duties of vice chair? And I will name you one by one if I have to. All right, vice chair.
I don't know if that fits my future plans at this time.
Commissioner Poole. Appreciate your willingness to step forward, and just so the commission doesn't feel that they have no choice, I did tell her be in a position to understudy and be able to step in and take the reins going forward, after this year is complete. So, need a motion to recommend one of us as vice chair.
I'll recommend that Chairman William Pohl be selected, appointed, however you phrase it, by.
You actually can, yes. All right, any other discussion? All right, it's been moved and seconded that Commissioner Poole be appointed as Vice Chair of the Water Commission. Any opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, and thank you for being willing to serve, Commissioner Poole. I appreciate it. All right, that brings us to item D, future agenda items. So I think we'll certainly want to continue keeping the AMI education portal usage and outreach efforts on the agenda for sure, based on the discussions we've had this evening. Does anyone have anything else you would like to add in for the next meeting, starting on the left? On the right? All right, Chair Miller did not give me any additional items to include, so I think other than our standard items, we'll just keep that one on the agenda for now. This to the subber, so I'll let it. You decide whether or not you think it needs to be updated on the next one or not. If so, that would be appropriate. But I don't have anything else for future agenda items. That brings us to item best. By way of reminder, as you're approaching, in the second citizen comment period, you're not required to sign up. You're limited to 1 2-minute period. Please state your name and address before your comments and the time begins.
Tom Klimas, 9610 Meadow Rue, been resident since August 94. Recall back earlier in the meeting tonight, I submitted my paperwork in like the 3rd of October, and maybe it was in work and perhaps almost in resolution around November when the last meeting took place. But if it wasn't, then there wasn't a meeting in December. So it just keeps sliding to the right. And now here we are in January, and it's 90 days plus. That seems like a little long for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comment and your time. Are there any other citizens who wish to speak? No? All right, that includes our agenda items. We're up to item 6, adjournment. If there's no other information, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion?